Okay, before I start the video, I just want to say I'm aware that I haven't uploaded in well over a month since December, and now it's like almost halfway through February. So I just want to apologize for that real quick. But I do have some rankings I've been working on, and there are definitely a few videos I'm going to be uploading soon. So last Christmas I got Mario Party Island Tour, and I gotta say, it's honestly one of my favorite Mario parties. I mean, I haven't really played that many, but it is a really fun game. The boards are good. I mean, not fantastic, but they all have something unique about them, which I really appreciate. The soundtrack is great, and I have to say, these are some of the best minigames. And Mario Party usually has good minigames. That's something you can rely on. But this one especially has some really fantastic ones. Anyways, I think the game's underrated, and I think people give it too much flack. And today I'm going to be working on my ranking of it, well, showing it to you. And now there are 7 boards in the game, but because one of them is multiplayer and I kind of can't find too many people to play with, there's just going to be 6 boards, so sorry about that. But yeah, so the image credits, I know they're not too great, but they go to Mario Amino. I didn't really ask anyone for them, but it was nice to have these images. So starting with number 6 is Rocket Road. So Rocket Road is a really cool board, and this one's kind of based off Mario Galaxy, and Rainbow Road, since, you know, you have the Rainbow Road, of course. You have some of the planets from Mario Galaxy. The gimmick of this board is that you can get these boosters on certain spots, I think, and you can win them in minigames. And these things will allow you to go farther. Now the board itself is just one line. Now, of course, it does turn and whatnot, but it is pretty linear, not really any split paths. The music is pretty great, but that goes without saying. You can hear it right now. It's a really fun board. Well, to be honest, it's a fun board, but I wouldn't call it that. It is a nice gimmick, though. The only problem is, it's too short. I like the idea, but I think it would have been cooler if there were some boosters that were negative, for example. That would have been cool. Some other boards do similar ideas where they have a counter negative kind of idea of the gimmick. Of course, there's Gusty Garden in the music, which is cool. Not a bad board, but also at the same time, it's pretty linear, it's pretty short, and I feel like the gimmick wasn't used for its full potential. Other than that, though, the board does look great, so I'll give it credit for that. And the next is Perilous Palace Path. This board is pretty cool. This is the first board out of the 7. I know we're just doing 6. This one is surprisingly long for a first board. Like, I'm pretty sure it's the longest out of all of them. Anyways, though, it's not a bad board. I guess I'll get my complaints out of the way. I feel like it doesn't really have a specific theme. It is kind of just grassy and also castle, but you have a lot of ideas. Now, don't get me wrong, there are good ones, like having to defeat a Whomp and also pass a Thwomp. And there's even a cool path you can pass that can take you by lava, which is pretty cool. I do appreciate the different paths and even some shortcuts you can take. And it does look pretty cool with all the houses and whatnot. And of course, the theme is great. But I just feel like some of these gimmicks kind of were stretched out, and maybe they could have stuck to some fewer themes. Other than that, though, it's pretty fun, and I was actually saying some good things I like about it. I like the idea of an extra path and defeating a boss at the end. I guess one of the complaints I have about this game is that at the ends of the boards, you don't really get to fight bosses the way you can in 10 or Star Rush, which is a little annoying, but also because the bosses in this game are pretty fun. Anyways, though, it's a good board. It's a good starting one. A bit long, I have to say, which is funny because the board before this was the opposite. Other than that, though, it's a good board. I gotta say, I like it. Now, this is a very controversial board. Bonsai Bill's Mad Mountain. This is easily the shortest board, or maybe not the shortest board, depending on how you look at it. From first glance, it looks pretty short. You have some places you can hide on a wall, and there's 2 layers. That's pretty much it. Well, not really. You have these mountains and these Bonsai Bills. And you can hide inside the cave, but if you roll the die and you get a Bonsai Bill, it's going to be headed straight for you, and if you're not hiding, you're getting hit. A lot of people don't like the gimmick, and I totally understand why. it doesn't seem that well designed, and it is definitely luck based. You're literally waiting on this die, literally the throw of a die to determine whether you can move forward or not, or if you get hit. Also, the theme is cool. I just want to say that. But I think it's a really cool gimmick, and I think it was a good length because it's long enough so that it doesn't feel too quick, but also it doesn't drag on, I'd say. The board didn't need to be long, and I still think it's a really cool idea. There was also a similar idea of having bullet bills chase you, but in other Mario Party games, but I think it really works here. And I know people don't like it, but for what it's worth, I do. Number 3 is Starcross Skyway. Starcross Skyway has a simple gimmick, one that might not seem interesting, but it's actually designed really well. Instead of trying to get to the finish first like some other boards, the cool part of this board is that, well, you're not doing that. For one thing, it's a really long board, but I think it justifies that because it uses its gimmick in 4 ways. The first time it introduces it, you need to get mini stars to win the board. It doesn't depend on who gets there to the end first, but whoever has the most. But there are different amounts of mini stars from different animals, or enemies. Like, for example, Flutter will give you a lot, as you can see here. Also, what's cool, because it's, sky themed, which isn't necessarily that common in Mario Party. Although there are a lot of minigames themed around it. Anyways, on the second time, you're gonna face just some more of these mini stars, but there's also the chance to get mini Zars with a Z, which is pretty much negative ones. Pretty much like the negative mini stars in Mario Party 10 and 9. It's actually similar to that board, and because I have a soft spot for Mario Party 10, I gotta say I like the board. Then there's the third one, which is easily one of the most fun ones, because you don't want to get to the end. Most of these have negative of mini stars, which is a bad thing. So you want to avoid those, and there's also some cool poison theme, which kind of fits with the idea of danger. And in the final section, you have a lot of mini stars, but also a lot of mini stars. It feels kind of like a level from a mainline Mario game, where you have this idea that they introduce and make more challenging, and really, that's one of the reasons why Starcross Skyway just works. It's a great board. Number 2 is Kamek's Carpet Ride. This is another board I've heard people say is good, but the idea is a bit too short. I kind of get what they're saying. Basically, the idea here is that you want to get to the finish first, but you don't have a die. Instead, you have cards. You get to choose from 3 different cards, and you can also win some in minigames. However, if you land on the Kamek spot, things are gonna go awry. Like, for example, you might be switched to another person's spot, It's a Haunted Mansion theme, which I gotta admit, I do like in Mario games. The theme is pretty great, and it's also cool to have a Kamek theme board. Then you get to go inside one of 2 mansions. The orange mansion is, well, a typical one, but the green one, which seems to happen a lot less, seems to be like some sort of poison or maybe a lab. Both of these areas are cool, and my only real complaint with the board is that it is too short. But other than that, it's designed really well. I really like the gimmick. I think it works great. If only it was a little longer. Other than that, though, it's a great board. I like it. And finally, number 1, my favorite board in the game, is Bowser's Peculiar Peak. So what makes this board so great? Well, it's a Bowser board. And I know in some of the older Mario Party games, Bowser had a lot more advantage, I guess, in his own boards. But I think that still applies here. You're kind of in, well, these dark mountains with lava, which seems pretty generic, but the gimmick is anything but. Okay, well, it's been done before, but it's really unique here because instead of wanting to get to the first, well, at the finish, you don't want to be first to the finish, I'll just say that. You want to be the farthest away, because whoever gets to the closest is the loser, and it pretty much just goes in reverse from that. Farthest away is the winner. Bowser has a bunch of cool tricks up his sleeves here in this board. He'll have a bomb explode, and sometimes it will or won't to continue forward. You'll have Piranha Plants to make you move forward, and if you win certain minigames, you'll get lower die blocks so you don't have to move as far. The characters also aren't happy about having to move forward either, which is pretty funny. And at the end, if you get a high enough die roll, Bowser will just smack you with a hammer into into space. So yeah, it's a great board. There's a Koopa's Road remix, and Bowser just has some random punishments just for fun. It's a great board, and I gotta admit, it's really well designed. This isn't my last Island Tour video. I'm gonna be making one on the minigames. Thank you for watching the video. Have a good day.